Chief Bugri Nabu a few questions, and then we adjourn. But we said that because of the nature of what is happening, we want to do a thorough job and end quickly. The nation cannot be chewing on this matter for too long, because it has a bearing on the security of this country. The head of internal security, if you care to know, the Inspector General of Police, is part of what we are trying to interrogate, and we should end it as quickly as possible. So proceedings were adjourned, and because lawyer Kwame Jan, the lawyer for the Inspector General of Police, said he wanted to read some of the material we've given them, the case has been adjourned to the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th of October without fail. So there's going to be a continuation of proceedings for 5 days, by which time we would have probably, holding all factors constant, concluded the proceedings, and then we'll be able to write our report. So these are the matters that have ensued today.
Honorable, you referred to a tape as the full tape. Will you throw more light on that?
If you care to know, there was the first audio that went viral, which was the basis of what the Speaker depended upon to make the referral to the committee. So you might want to call it the first tape. And then when we played out the first tape to the witnesses, they said that the tape is incomplete. It's been truncated. It's been edited. If you remember, we're asking them, which ones do you validate and which one do you reject? And they said their voices are valid here, but the rest of them, they disagree. And then we got a second tape, which is supposed to be the full complement of the conversation that Chief Bugri Nabu, Superintendent Asari, and COP Mensa had at Chief Bugri Nabu's office in Usu. So that's the second tape.
To know respectfully, when the committee is returning to continue with its work. Yeah.
The committee is resuming work on the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and the 6th of October, God willing.
Thank you. Chairman, for purposes of clarity, I want to find out did the National Security Report concern itself with just the interrogation of the key witnesses who were called by the NIB, or it's a comprehensive report about the entire tape and its linkages and its effect on our national security? And then also, when you return on the 5th till your work is done, do you know, on the 2nd to the 5th, do you know if these are going to be public hearings or the nature of hearings you are going to have when you return?
In the first instance, the Minister for National Security did not tender any document. He only tendered his statement, what he said to the committee. So he made a written statement to the committee. And then we said he should tender the statement he made to the committee. So that is the first point. The second point is that when we return, it is going to be an in-camera hearing, because all the witnesses will congregate with their lawyers, and then they are supposed to give us the evidential support in relation to what they said openly and publicly. And please bear in mind that we are not trying to shut out the press, because, as has been rightly said, there are national security implications in relating to the interrogation, and we need to exercise that discretion as to what is good for public consumption and what's not. But eventually, a report will be placed before Parliament, which will be a matter of public knowledge. And then Parliament will debate it, and then resolutions will be made on the basis of the report.
Sure, sorry, I don't think you got my first question right. You mentioned that there's an interim report which had been prepared by the National Security, but he refused to share it because of the fact that it has not been declassified. And I want to know if he told the committee about the remit of that report, whether it relates to only the interrogation of Superintendent Asari and the rest, or it relates to the entire tape, that's the tape and its ramifications for our national security.
He didn't talk about it at all. He said he refused to talk about anything they did.
Chairman, I also want to find out whether we're going to witness cross-examination during the sitting.
Very most likely.
Honorable Chair, with respect to the petitioners, is there any updates from the police officers who claim they have been denied promotions by the Dr. Akufo-Dampare?
That is very peripheral to the investigations we are doing, and we will look at it. So when you brush aside your substantive remit and go into some other matters, it could eat our time. So we will look at the time measurement properly and we'll attend to it.
One more question regarding the tape again. I just want to know, does the second tape suggest that indeed the initial tape which went viral is a doctored one?
It seems to be the case because the second tape is one which is a very long discussion, which I can come to some understanding that they do not dispute.
Mr. Chairman, we know there was this video in circulation where Bugri Nabu allegedly, a voice alleged to be from Bugri Nabu talking about his engagement with the IGP, and the voice was heard saying that he takes about 10,000 Ghana cedis from the IGP. Has that been drawn to your attention?
Not yet. The committee has not had that video, and they've not brought it to our attention.
But will you consider scrutinizing the video if it is drawn to your attention?
We'll scrutinize every relevant evidence that comes before the committee. So if you want to be a witness and tender it, you are welcome.
Is it my understanding that it is not the witness, it is not only the witness that will tender that as evidence, but anyone from the general public can tender that in as an evidence?
It's not a fetish of an inquiry. It's an open inquiry. And the public who are interested in the sanity of the Ghana Police Service can always come in with whatever evidence which has direct relation to our remit, and we look at it.
But are there still some objections from any of the legal themes of the witnesses before you? We know that the IGP's lawyers raised a concern about they having the benefit of the evidence that we adduced by the accusers so that they can also go and scrutinize them, come back and respond to them.
They have every proceeding now. You see, even yesterday's proceedings were ready. They've given it to them. They've given the number of the chairman and the clerk to the committee that if they are having any challenge in relation to proceedings, we will give it to them. And if there is any evidence of consequence that we have, we'll give it to them. So they scrutinize whatever we have before we meet. And they have also said they'll give their evidence to us.
Mr. Chairman, lastly from me, is there any time frame that the committee is working on to unravel the allegations?
Well, the Speaker insisted that when we return the first week, we should finish our work. But when we look at the welter of the case and there's a need to seek his leave to continue, we will bring it to his attention. Because we don't intend doing a shoddy job.
Would you say you are overwhelmed by what you are hearing or what you are gathering so far as this case is concerned?
I'm not overwhelmed at all. I am a lawyer of considerable experience. I've heard a lot of things. I've heard about murders, subversion. You know, I've heard a lot of things in my life, you know. I'm not surprised at all. I can only see common humanity playing out. And if we're a good student of the Bible, we won't be surprised.
I do admire the way you handle the whole proceedings, but at the point it appears some of the lawyers wanted to bully you. Did you see that to be tough on your side?
The people who wanted to bully me are my engineers. I have a very young face, but I'm not a small boy at the bar. Yes. In fact, I have some people in the Supreme Court who are my engineers. I'm not a boy.
Chairman, you related earlier on to, in our earlier discussions about a petition that you had received, or you had received from some senior police officers, retired, who wanted to volunteer some evidence or, come before the committee as witnesses to aid the committee in its work. In the scheme of things, now that you have almost, I would say probably you have broken down your hearings or your schedule into two, you are down a first part, you are taking a break, you come with the second part. Do you still have space for them? Have you invited these officers? Will you hear them? Would they have what they have to say? Do you know if it will have any bearing on what you are doing so far, or you think it will go beyond your remit, as you have said about the officers asking about promotions?
We will evaluate it and see whether the petition bears relevance to our remit. And if it is so, we'll look at it. But if it's going to hijack our time, we might defer it until we realize that we should look at it or even reject it because it will be outside our jurisdiction.
But may we have the benefit to know the source of your tapes? Because the source will also authenticate or give credence to the veracity of the allegations that have been put out in the tape.
Well, the source of the tape now is from the same Chief Bugri Nabu.
The second tape is coming from Chief Bugri Nabu?
Yes.